Hello and welcome to NK505. So we are on to keying and plate integration, and this is a pretty extensive course going through my entire process basically of keying and color integration and the way that I think about things, but also just general principles that apply to all compositors and techniques that will definitely benefit you with this entire process. So just to give you guys an overview of this class and what we're going to cover, it's a pretty extensive class, and this is just a shortened list of some of the things that we're going to be covering, and I don't even think this covers all of it. This is just some of the main ones. So I don't want to spend too much time on this slide or anything like that. I'm going to kind of skip through this little PowerPoint to just show you guys a quick overview of what we're going to be going through over the next multiple hours that this course is set to be. And so, yeah, we have, I'll just quickly run through this. We're going to go through some theory like usual, pre-mult on pre-mult. So we're really starting with the basics again, just to summarize some of the things we started on Nuke 101, if you guys have been following with the other classes. But maybe some people haven't been. So this is just to get people up to speed, starting with the basics. And then we're going to quickly start to get more complex. So we're going to start with some theory of green screens, what it is, and basically how we can start to combine keys, de-spilling fundamentals, and then we'll start to really get into compositing structure theory. So really more advanced structures that you can build your keys and a way of thinking and logic that you can apply. So rather than just teaching you the nodes themselves, I'm trying to teach you the logic behind it, because compositing is problem solving. So rather than just showing you what to do, I need to show you how to think. And so that's the goal, or my goal with this class, is to try to convey that thought process. So we have, keying nodes, de-spill nodes. So we're going over the nodes here, but we also have the structure theory, which is really going to benefit you guys. And we have practical exercises along the way, so we can just kind of apply things as we're doing them a little bit. So usually I will go through and explain things pretty in depth before we actually just go through and kind of start to get a little bit into Nuke. So it's kind of an on and off type of class at the start, meaning we'll go theory, practical, back to theory again, make sure we understand the more complex stuff, and then we'll practice that complex stuff. And then in the end, we have this. So all of this, oops, that's not meant to happen. So all of this here is one project, basically. So it's an advanced key project, and all of this stuff in this list here is going to be covered and more. This doesn't even include everything. But yeah, this will basically teach you to pull any type of key that you can pretty much run into on, feature films or TV. And by the end of this course, I think that pretty much anyone should be able to pull almost any key given to them with a little bit of practice with what I'm showing you here. So this is giving you the tools to really pull off any type of shot, and I think it's very valuable. So I hope you guys get a lot out of it. And I'll just quickly go through here, and we'll just skip through. So we'll go through the theory first and talking about green screens, blue screens, the difference of them. We'll go through some terms, vocabulary. We go through some examples, kind of animations I created to sort of explain things in a visual way. So it's more, I think it's better to learn things this way, a little bit more entertaining and stimulating as well, than to just stare at Nuke and some boring picture for, hours on end. So I think that, my goal with this class is to try to at least change it up enough that we can see different images and see different examples, and try to keep it interesting while you're learning. So that's kind of the goal. We'll go through pre-mult, because that's something that a lot of beginners get confused on, and intermediate even. It's just something that you need to understand. And we'll go over that pretty in depth. So yeah, that's kind of the basic stuff. So this is all just the basics, making sure we truly understand the fundamentals before we start building more advanced blocks on top of that foundation. And then we'll go into Nuke, and we'll do some of the keyers. We'll go through the actual nodes and all the settings, and some of the settings you need to know and some that are less important. You know, I don't claim to know every single slider in Nuke, you know, but I know what I need to use and when to use it. So, you know, I'm going to teach you guys my method of keying. And yeah, that's pretty much just something that is worth mentioning. You know, you can find a video on Keylight or something on YouTube. You know, this information is out there, but the way I'm presenting it and the way I'm going to teach you guys to think about keying, I think is much more valuable than just getting a simple example thrown at you. And that's why I'm going to throw you guys a harder example at the end of this project. And it's pretty much one of the hardest type of keys you can have. So we'll talk about that as well. And so we have different footages that we'll work with. We'll talk about despilling here, clean screen, some different techniques to you know, pull things out. And then we'll start doing combining keys. So we have a couple practical projects here. If we look, we'll start to do some mixing of keys and kind of structuring them in a way that will be modular if there's an area that needs to be improved. So there's a way to structure your composite that makes a lot more sense than just kind of randomly placing nodes around. Like there's an actual logic to it. So yeah, we'll go through that in this little project. And I think there's another one. There's a couple parts, and I'll explain those later on. So that would be one part. We also have this part where I kind of break down that logic into multiple step process. So you can actually, every time you're thinking about this, it'll be really clear in terms of the way you need to build this out and the pieces that are required to put it together. So this is kind of the first project that we'll do. We have some exercises before that, but this is kind of the first project. And yeah, that will basically, if I just let this load here, yeah, that will basically kind of give us a foundation for this way of working. And then what we're going to do is move on to an advanced project. So if I go back to the keynote here, we have, yeah, so this is kind of just explaining all of those things before we jumped into that one. Bunch of nodes, but also where to combine them, how to combine them. And, you know, we'll go through this sort of diagram overview. So I created this animation to help explain it again. So a lot of these concepts I explain or re-explain in different ways. And I think that's probably the easiest way to learn it, because if I just explain it one way in Nuke, you know, you might not really understand how to use it in every shot. So I try to create animations and try to use different examples where there's different problem areas on each shot. So you have to use a little bit of problem solving on each area, and you can see that way of thinking, which is, again, what's the valuable part in all of this. So the last thing we'll basically go into is the advanced project. So that huge list I showed you at the start of this, which is, if I open the script here, this. So this behemoth of a script, we have a whole bunch of all the techniques that we learned. We go into, you know, a bunch of key mixing. You can see, like, basically all of this is just the key. And then all of this is some of the despill. And then we go into some advanced edge fixing and color grading and integration. So the end of the class, we're going to move away from keying and actually go into integration. So we'll go into something that we go from something like this. So this is our final shot here, but we're going from this image to this. So there's a lot of integration that we actually need to do here in order to get this feeling like the way it does. So if we just look at, I think this is the example I used here. This is without color integration. So there's a lot of work that you have to do to be able to get this image looking like that. And we're going to go through that whole process. So you see the light is falling on one side. We have some shadow. We're adjusting the black point. You see how it's all gray here, and then we're darkening it. So those are the basics of the integration. But we also cover a bunch of creative techniques as well in terms of the way to make this background. For example, it's very dark here, and we kind of are lifting it a little bit to blend the edges. So there's going to be a bunch of artistic principles that I'm teaching you as well in this class. It's not just a keying class. And, you know, that's also a very valuable part of this class. that I don't think there's any really other courses that are teaching that in depth out there. So that's why I wanted to create this, because that's really the hard part of compositing. You know, how do you get from, you know, okay, I have an alpha to a final image that goes on a, you know, a movie theater screen. So that's what we're going to be learning, and that's just a quick overview of everything. I think I don't know the exact hours of the class yet, but I imagine it'll probably be many hours, and that's pretty much it. So hopefully you guys enjoy. We'll jump on to the next slides here and just go back to the basics, the theory, a little bit of a summary of what we might have talked about already if you took Nuke 101, but we have a little bit more detail there as well. One thing I want to mention is that along the class, there are some extra little resources I've basically attached in the learning information folder. So if you download this project file and you go to the learning information folder, you're going to find extra resources that I bring up or I mention along the way. So you can find those extra things. It also has all the vocabulary saved. So if you forget something that I'm saying, you don't know what I'm talking about, some of that is included there. So yeah, we'll move on to the next slide.